Woman makes a promise to her sick husband, gives birth to his twins 3 years after his passing. Most people were moved to tears by her husband's battle with throat cancer, but they were relieved to learn that she felt his presence through their children born after his passing. The proud mother's miraculous story went viral after it was revealed that doctors said her chances of becoming pregnant were slim to none. Despite their fears, she was determined to keep her promise. Lucy Kelsil had no idea when she met her husband, David, that she would marry him after only a few years. They first met in 2005 at a rehabilitation centre in South Wales, where Lucy was receiving treatment. After being treated, she went on to become a manager at the rehab centre. 6 years later, David walked in through the front door, eager to begin a healthy lifestyle. They felt an instant spark but couldn't date because employee-patient relationships were against the rules of the rehab center. After his treatment, he spent the majority of his time with Lucy, getting to know her better. With each passing day, their love grew stronger. Lucy even stated how the two had become inseparable and, within 2 years, had moved in together, married, and begun trying for a child. Everything in her life was going swimmingly until one day when her husband complained of a sore throat. She had no idea how her life would change for the rest of her life after that day. After experiencing throat discomfort, David went to the general practitioner and had himself checked. The doctor assured him that it was nothing serious and prescribed medications for silent reflux. A few months later, however, David went to the hospital after feeling a lump in his throat. The doctors admitted him to the hospital, stating that a few tests were required. The medical professionals informed them of the test results 2 weeks later. David was given the diagnosis of throat cancer, but doctors assured him that treatment would be able to eradicate the harmful cells. When she imagined losing her husband, the woman recalled feeling her body numb. Losing her husband was not an option for her because their love story was nothing less than a fantasy. She also learned that she was expecting, and her husband was overjoyed to hear the news. They may easily divert their attention from David's most recent diagnosis by doing this. Unfortunately, 2 weeks later, Lucy miscarried, and the formerly joyful woman was now at her lowest. She persevered, nevertheless, getting back up to support her husband through his cancer treatment. David had several grueling chemotherapy sessions not long after his diagnosis. To stop the malignant cells from spreading, the medical professionals also removed his lymph nodes. Although the physicians made every effort to get rid of the malignant cells, David's condition did not seem to be getting better. Another lump would develop somewhere else after the doctors removed one from his throat. The physicians proposed that David have his voice box removed in order to stop the cancer from spreading, since they wanted him to recover quickly. Although Lucy and David knew he wouldn't be able to communicate following the surgery, they nevertheless opted to move forward with it despite their reservations. According to Lucy, he had started sending me love letters to communicate his feelings after losing his voice. She would frequently come across David's handwritten letters in unexpected locations, and whenever she opened one, she would always have butterflies in her stomach. When his cancer returned in September 2017, Lucy admitted that they had almost forgotten about it. This time, the situation was difficult since the tumor had grown around an artery, and the physicians were unable to remove it. 3 months later, Lucy was frightened to witness her husband's mouth bleeding. She took him to the hospital right away, where the medical staff decided against treating him because the cancer had spread to his lungs. Lucy immediately began crying as David gave her a tight hug. Before he passed away in December 2017, the couple spent David's final few days at a hospice facility. Lucy was devastated and refused to speak to her friends and family for days. One morning as she poured her cereal, she saw a piece of paper had fallen into the bowl. When she opened it, she found a handwritten note from her beloved husband that made her feel as though he was there. She walked to his drawer to see if he had left any additional messages for her as tears streamed down her cheeks. She was stunned to see dozens of cards and notes inside. Reading the notes reminded her of her promise to David. While she was with him at the hospice, she promised that even if he passed, he would become a father. David had his sperm frozen at a local IVF facility after learning about his cancer, fearing that he would become impotent after undergoing chemotherapy. Lucy's only solace after David's passing was having a child, as she imagined she'd sense his presence through his child. But things were not as simple as they appeared. Lucy didn't give up even though the chances of having a baby through IVF were slim. She told the doctors she wanted to try again after her first round of IVF resulted in a miscarriage. The young widow was determined to bear her late husband's child. The doctors told Lucy to discard the 2 embryos that had formed during the second round because they weren't optimistic. They believed the embryos wouldn't survive after observing the conditions within her womb. But on her urging, they chose to implant them in her womb. She found a ray of hope 2 weeks later when she saw her positive pregnancy tests. She was overjoyed to learn that the twins inside her belonged to David. Lucy gave birth to 2 handsome baby boys, David and Samuel, 8 months later. When she first saw her miracle babies, tears streamed down her cheeks. Lucy was overjoyed to be holding her babies, but she also missed David. She had wished to spend this special time with him, but fate had other plans for the couple. Lucy had a brilliant idea for making her children aware of his presence. She gave her twins blankets, cushions, and teddy bears made from their father's clothing. This meant that their father would be with them at all times,